Well, hi, good morning, and thanks so much for joining me in my shop here. It's June 29th. A couple of days I have not been in my shop because the weather has been just fantastic here. It's been sunny and cool. Temperatures just been wonderful. But today it's a rain all day today. So again, I feel very sorry for all those people, including maybe you, who's in a hot spot in the world, roasting away, and meanwhile here at least the temperature has been unusually cool and very, very comfortable. So I feel a special affinity for those who are in Athens, because I received an email from someone in Athens and it's 50 degrees there. 50 degrees. I can't imagine what that's like. Hopefully I never will. Okay, so what about this radio now? So I was in my shop briefly the last couple of days. I did try making a video, which I abandoned after a while because I just wanted to go outside so bad. And also, nothing really worked out in the videos I was working on. So last thing that happened, as I remember it, is I played this radio and discovered a rather odd oscillation, or sound if you like, that appeared to be present in the IF when I tuned through the IF with my signal generator over there. I repeated that and it didn't work again, didn't do the same thing, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. What's going on? I don't know. So maybe what we'll start with is just play the radio with an antenna, just come to grips with what condition it's in. There's still 3 wax capacitors under here that need to be changed out. No doubt they're having an influence. Oh, I see 2 more. I've just discovered 2 more wax capacitors. One there and one here. Right around these coils. Oh boy, I'm going to look into those. Okay, so that's 5 capacitors now. Oh yeah. Why don't we look into these ones kind of right off the bat? So first though is play the radio with an antenna. Yeah, one of the things I did yesterday was I attempted I experimented with a loop on the ground antenna. Loop on the ground antenna. So this is just the poorest antenna you can make. You just go throw some wire and a loop on the ground, just right on the ground, hook it up. I have a very fortunate way of experimenting with these things. I could do very thorough experimenting without spending hours and hours running back and forth from antenna to radio. The result is I couldn't get anything out of this loop on the ground, no matter what I did, that would in any way compare to the antenna I'm using these days, which is one of these little electronic, I call them E-antennas, which works really, really well. So that's what I did yesterday, loop on the ground. No. Okay, let's get this radio operating and just run through its see how well it operates. Okay, antenna is switched on. Let's give it a go here. I think I'm on the broadcast band, and we'll start at the low end here. That's 109 volts powering the radio. It's just a huge amount of interference here.
55% off your subscription. .com/radio. That's BABBEL.com/radio for 55% off.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride.
That's probably 590. Lovely. It's probably 640. 680. This radio's working great. It's great. So that's Hamilton, 820. comedy channel, and then 860, the French CBC. Well, that's fantastic. Okay, so it's working great on this band already. I really don't know why I would even think there's anything left to do. Now we're on shortwave, kind of in the middle here. Shortwave's 11 megahertz, 13, 15, 8, 9, 10. So we're at 9 megahertz. So we'll go down a little bit, but can't imagine we're going to hear anything there. What's this noise? A noise that doesn't change as I tune.
He also, as of one born out,
Know through the scriptures, and you can read the account of the resurrection.
So that's ham radio, FT8 at on the 20 meter band.
emotionally, we pray, oh God, that you will just touch them.
Working pretty good. Now, the only thing I notice is this sparky sound is the same no matter where you tune the noise, especially here. It's just very consistent. And that's where I think the noise is entering the radio through the IF. That's what I think. So the question would be, is there a noise at the IF frequency? And that was a little difficult to figure out here. Let me try another radio in here. Okay, so if you can hear the hissy roar, that's the audio from my SDR radio. And let me just put something here. Right now the SDR radio is connected here. These leads go to the input of the SDR radio, and this is the antenna I'm using here. And you can hear it's just a roar. It's nothing more. Let's take a look at it on the screen here. So that large coil is picking up a number of signals. This is the broadcast band here. Now, some of these guys aren't real, and I'm going to prove it to you. See this guy right here, which might be of interest to us, is very close to the 455, 480. But what is it? So we'll listen to it. This is what it sounds like. Nothing in particular. And that's just using AM. Oh, how do you like that? That radio was set to USB, or upper sideband. I didn't realize that. Not that it matters. Still, there's just no modulation in this thing. But more than that, if I touch the antenna to boost the signal, you see how all that stuff went up? But not the one. But not the one. Let me get the red line off of it here. This one here, it doesn't change. Watch again. I'll touch the antenna with my finger. And it doesn't change. Everything else is changing, except for this guy over here. These things, I think, are artifacts of the SDR itself, and they are not real. You also notice when I put my finger on it, you can hear a sound that's similar to what's coming out of the radio here. The radio I'm working on. Now I'm going to connect the incoming antenna to the SDR, just one wire, the center wire. You can see lots of signals there. And now I'm going to connect the ground wire Okay, that's kind of interesting. Just way down at the bottom there. The pulsing that you see right around 275, I think that's like a timing issue. is like coordinating a camera shutter sort of thing. I think that's what's happening there. I'm going to put the ground back on, ground to ground. Wow, that's interesting. I've never noticed that. This huge, very low frequency malarkey on there. Okay, and now I'm going to put the ground of my antenna onto the sort of the live input to the SDR. Do you hear the sound? Okay, now that's the ground, and now I'll put the signal wire, same thing, same effect. And what if I put both on? So basically, that's the ground and this is the antenna. So that's the antenna more or less fully connected to the SDR. So if we look in the key area here, well, of course there's junk in there, but nothing extraordinary. Let's do it this way. Just a hum and other stuff. Okay, let's go back to the radio I'm working on. This is kind of a fight. I think a lot of people are fighting, maybe you too, the fight of the noise. So you can see the connections I've made here. This is the incoming antenna. This is the lead to the SDR. They're just tied together here with this coil in the circuit. Okay, SDR away. Take the antenna wire here. I'm going to take the ground lead and touch it to the chassis. The antenna on the antenna, and the ground. Connect the ground, you get that terrible noise. Now, my radio is currently plugged into an isolation transformer. It's not plugged into a grounded outlet, and that could be part of what's going on here. That if I had this plugged into a regular outlet, we wouldn't get this effect. But I'm just a little hesitant. Let's try it. Okay, first of all, we're going to disconnect everything so nothing is hooked up to the radio at all, because I'm foregoing the isolation transformer here. Okay, it's a non-polarized plug, so I just put it in one way. Let me get the voltmeter out. Just see what's going on here before getting a shock off this radio. So I measure the chassis voltage, AC voltage to ground. So I'm going to pick a grounded item. This is definitely grounded. Ooh, a hot diggity dog. Yeah. So that is probably coming through a capacitor to get that voltage, but the capacitor is probably leaky. And I should not try to find out with my fingers what is going on there. Okay, so I've reversed the plug. Try the same test. Known ground, chassis. And we see nothing. But if we turn this off, that's right, we can't turn this one off. We can't turn it off. I was going to turn it off and show you that the voltage will, with a meter like this, you'll see the voltage again. But I can't prove that, so so now we can put it in an outlet. So this hum doesn't vary with the volume control. Okay, antenna. Now, other stuff is connected to this. Well, maybe not today. Maybe not right at the moment, but let's just read from the ground here, just to be sure. Okay, we can be sure. It's on. Where's the noise? Not really there. Put this on. Lovely. This on. I'll have to try picking something up and see what happens here. Seems to be picking up tons of stuff now. That swoosh, swoosh, swoosh is some kind of repeated interference signal. Hey, where'd you go? It's totally different. No stations. Not going to be no stations. Why would that be? No stations. Let's put the ground on. See what we get from that. I did not get a shock. I just scared myself. Oh man. I tell you. Okay. Now we get stations.
God's word tells us how to be great parents. The word tells us how to be successful business people and good neighbors. The word tells us how to create. Grow old gracefully and how to be satisfied with long life. The word tells us how
The word was written by people. People wrote those words. That's good news. People have the wherewithal to figure out everything. They don't need we don't need instructions from a deity to sort out right from wrong.
against our enemies. But most of all, it tells us what to do to redeem our eternal souls from sin and how to secure eternal life and how to spend eternity with God the Father and to avoid hell and eternal damnation.
You tell it. You tell it. Okay, here we go. Well, the reception's really good. What more should I do to this radio?
Many times in the book of Shuri, where David is calling.
So much religious stuff from the United States. Okay. Let's go way down here, where we shouldn't be able to get much.
Pray, may your kingdom
That's 9 megahertz. Right around 7. No. Very good. Okay, so bottom line. Turn it off. Bottom line is. Oh, it's plugged in the wall. Boy, oh boy. Turned off my panel switch and the radio didn't go off. Let me pull this out. Now, we're going to keep track of something here. The wide one is this one. We're going to mark it. There. We're going to try and mark it. Well, for some reason my magic marker is missing right now. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop for a bit. Get my coffee and do stuff like that. Get a pen, mark this thing, and then we'll look at those capacitors. Okay, so somewhere in this radio there has to be a capacitor that connects the B minus to the chassis. There's 3 wax capacitors left here. It's one of these 3, and let's look on the schematic and just look. We'll look for that capacitor on the schematic. Okay, I have to know where it is already because I found it earlier. It's right here. It's this point 2, and it's connecting this connection, which is the chassis, to the B minus. Otherwise, this wire goes up and ties to pin number 1. Pin number 1 is on a metal tube tied to the metal can. In this radio, I've put a glass tube in here. So in fact, this comes up, ties to pin 1, doesn't do anything. Putting a glass tube in here raises some questions, but so far I haven't noticed any problems. Radio seems to work fine. If you look at this tube, as a metal, this is a metal tube. It is a metal tube in this radio, and you can see again, pin 1 tied to the chassis, and this probably relates back to the antenna. Wow, where's this one going? Ooh, okay, well, I'm not going to try to sort this out exactly, but a lot of radios put a chassis ground out here. I always thought it was at the end of the antenna, so you have the antenna coming in, and I don't know what that's doing there. That looks like it's on the metal can of the tuning capacitor, or the frame of the tuning capacitor. We'll have to look at that. This frame of the tuning capacitor may be isolated from the chassis. Well, it wouldn't be, would it, with this here? I don't know, it's over my head. So the issue though is this capacitor may be leaky. It's a big one too, and that would set up the radio to shock somebody. So you plug, this is how it works. You plug the radio in. Whoops, it can go this way or that way in the outlet. Let's suppose it goes in the way that this prong on the plug is going into the live side of the power system. Now you got 120 volts here, 120 volts here, 120 volts here, 120 volts through here to the chassis. You take a high impedance meter, you read 120 volts, which is just what I did. You flip this around and the voltage completely disappears, which is what happened. You try turning it on or off and you'll find that these voltages flip around in a surprising way. Very hard to make these radios safe no matter what. I think some guys put a 3-prong plug on here and then bring the ground wire back to the chassis, and you know, I don't know what to say about that. I don't do that myself, but I suppose you could do that. That would force the plug to go in the wall a certain way, and force, you know, you could force this to be on the grounded side of things all the time if you did that. I just marked a little ground thing on the plug here, which I don't know how much good it's going to do anybody, but it'll do me some good. Okay, so this is the capacitor we want to go after next. I want to find out if it's leaky and replace it for sure. Now there's 2 more in there right beside it. Not sure what they're doing. And then there's 2 I just noticed, and I think it's this one and this one. I think I just noticed up on top. 0.007, kind of an odd size. And this, no, this is not a wax one here. Maybe it's this one I noticed up on top. And all the rest appear to be mica type capacitors. So that's probably what I spotted. This and this guy, which will have to be changed also. This one's not very important, unless you're gonna, well, in this radio actually it is important because there's no loop antenna, so the person has to rely on a piece of wire. You're gonna handle a piece of wire out here. And does this make it to the ground connection somehow? So, like some way through this circuitous stuff? So there's a bit of a shock hazard. If you're playing with the wire out here and you're out like I was yesterday in my backyard, and you're working with a radio like this, yikes. Yeah, I would say, wow, you're slinging an antenna in your backyard, hooking it up to this radio. Make sure the radio's unplugged when you're out in the backyard playing with the antenna. That's what I would say. Oy, oy, oy. So, rambling around here, going in circles. Let's just go after this capacitor and change it out. Which one is the point 2? Well, maybe I'd be dishonest if I didn't tell you I already know which one's the point 2. But the way I figured it out was I know it's tied to the chassis. It's the only capacitor that goes to the chassis in this radio. So I just looked at the wires coming from these two. They go to terminals here and there. And this one that goes to the chassis here. Now, it doesn't seem to come to pin 1 over here. That's the weird thing. So if I point at pin 1 is right here. This pin is going to a chassis terminal down here. So this should really be going from the chassis to B minus. The B minus terminal would have to be here. This is what that capacitor is connected to. And you can see a black wire coming along here and a black wire. So that's what this is. Capacitor from chassis to B minus. Can I get it out of there? Gain of 0.2, right? 0.2 capacitors. It just looks fantastic. Why did you cut it out of there, Jim? Maybe you should have just left it again. I should have probably just said, hey, this radio's working good, just leave everything as it is. But I guess there's a bit of a safety concern with this one. Let's test it out. Every capacitor that's come out of this radio has been bad. Every one of them. Whoops. There we go. Why would this one be any different? Would a leaky one here be responsible for that annoying hum we heard with the antenna when it was grounded? I don't know. Okay, so 50 volts, watching the eye, and there's no way. It's actually, you know what? This is coming. It's not quite opening, but it's closer than some others. But yeah, it's a leaker. I'm gonna have to order a bunch of big capacitors because I'm really scrounging now, and yeah. Okay, I have to start the scrounging. Capacitor, it's got to be able to take what, 120 volts? That would be a 200 volt capacitor. Maybe I've got one of those. Because of a dearth of large capacitors here in my shop, I've had to do this kind of thing. These are 0.05s, and I have a surplus of 0.05s because of an ordering error I made. I have a lot of these 0.05s. So I'm going to do all three of these capacitors here using 0.05s paralleled up in some cases to get the job done. So we'll get 3 of them changed out all at once here. Good. Okay, piled all those capacitors into there. Just check to make sure they're soldered properly. Doing 3 at once. Ooh, yeah. Knowing me, there's a good chance I've made a mistake in here. I don't think so. That's always the way it goes, doesn't it? So we're going to turn this guy over now. Give him a try. Good. Okay. Lay down. We have antenna connected. Ooh, what's going on there? Don't go under there. Don't go under there. Okay. Dim bulb's very important in this case. Plug it in. see my very nifty ground symbol I marked on there, but it doesn't matter. Here. Okay, off to a good start. Voltage on the radio is 106 right now. Come on, radio. What's happened? Oh, shortwave. We're on shortwave.
It's a masterpiece of deception. That's exactly what it is.
Shortwave. Fantastic.
No, we're near the end. I'll tell you. After 1,700 years of this truth being lost, heaven is now getting the truth out there. And it's good.
You have everything to look forward to after you die. Same station in two places. Okay, not bad.
So, in Eden, Adam were given.
We're getting something way down here. If you're seeing this meter jumping up and down, it doesn't mean anything. For some reason, it's got a loose connection somewhere or something. I see it out of the corner of my eye sometimes. Okay, let's try the broadcast band.
40 Toronto.
It's easy to get behind your home team when they put it all on the line.
Love them.
The same way you get behind the tireless.
Now, a lot of the performance here is really coming from the antenna the radio is connected to.
Thanks to charitable bingo and gaming centers across Ontario.
He's moving around and then does it do it for an extended for a chunk of the season. Friendship that he built and I never really like to think that based on this body of work he will turn it around, but it's just with shortstop.
See, that stuff way up at the high end of the band. If it wasn't for that noise, this would be just great. Okay, what's left on this radio now is to do an alignment. And, oh no, there's two more capacitors. Hold the fort. And I have to think about what to do about the on-off switch. So my inclination is just leave it alone because, you can plug the radio in and out and put it in a power bar with an on-off switch. I mean, there's other solutions here that don't entail taking risks. Now, I've got a capacitor here and a capacitor here. I only saw one of these on the schematic, I thought. They are connected. They both seem to be in the same position. Hard to see the bottom of this one, but I think it's tying to that terminal there. This one is going between this terminal and this terminal. Right across this coil, it would appear. Let's take a look at and see what we can find out from the schematic here. So we can go down to the this is all we got, 2 pages. We got this page. Is this telling me item 5, top of front coil on chassis. Gang rocked during adjustment. on IF cans, free end of broadcast oscillator coil under chassis. So they are explaining where these are. Antenna trimmer, item 25, top of rear coil on chassis. Top of rear coil on chassis, gang rocked during adjustment. Oscillator lag. Now there's an interesting term, oscillator lag. Item 42, fixed end of broadcast oscillator coil. Fixed end of broadcast oscillator coil. Doesn't say on top. Oscillator coil under chassis. Top of rear coil on chassis. Well, maybe they're not saying it because there's only 3 coils and they've told you where 2 of them are, so they figure you're smart enough to figure out what the third one must be. That has to be what's going on. So if that's the case, then the antenna trimmer for the top of the broadcast band, or is adjusted at the top of the broadcast band, and that's the rear coil on top of the chassis. This would be the front coil. And this one here, it says right. Broadcast oscillator trimmer under chassis. So I got the broadcast. What do you mean free end? What do you mean by that? Oscillator trimmer, item 43, free end of broadcast oscillator coil under chassis. So I think what they mean by that is one end is mounted to the chassis, the other end is free, and that's where you find the broadcast. They didn't have to say that. I mean, it's kind of obvious. It's mounted right on the coil. So, so what am I concerned about? I'm concerned about trying to figure out what those capacitors are. So the 2 on the top, antenna and oscillator on the short wave. An antenna and oscillator for short. No, broadcast. Wait a minute. Oh! Yeah, I've been looking at this chart the whole time. I'm thinking you read it right across. But no, this is one part and this is the other part. Okay. Man, sometimes I'm pretty slow on the pickup. But I tend to get things really good when I get them. Oscillator trimmer, free end of shortwave oscillator coil under chassis. How many coils are under this chassis? Oh, there's 2. Okay, there's 2 underneath and 2 on top. Well, I'm going to sort this out myself and make sure I know what I'm doing before I start this. So, because just doing it live here is going to just make everybody upset, including me. And you know what? Coffee time. Well, the coil situation is not so hard to sort out as I might have thought, but in the instructions it mentions the free end of a coil. This is the coil it's talking about, and the free end is up here. And the reason it's talking about it is because there's another adjustment at the fixed end. So the fixed end, the free end. This is the broadcast coil. You can see that has many more turns of finer wire here. This is the short wave one, many less turns. Many less turns. And only one adjustment on it. So oscillator coils here. And then up on top of the radio, we have the antenna coils. The back one is the broadcast antenna coil again. Lots of wire here, much less wire here. This is the shortwave antenna adjustment. That's all there is to it. So to do this, I think probably having the radio sitting like this is probably the best way to get at everything. I think. I have to come in like this. Okay. I think I'm just about ready. And the main thing I'm ready for is cup of coffee number 2. So I'm going to deal with that first, and then we're going to align this guy. Try anyway. Okay, I think I'm ready to start. Let's just review what I've got going here to make sure I've got it right. Grounding for the signal generator and for this voltmeter here, and the white goes to a B- connection point, and there's no question that's a B- connection point. The output from here is being fed through a capacitor into the grid of the 12SA7, and we have a modulated signal coming to the radio. So this is going to be monitoring the AVC voltage. We won't need to listen to the radio very much to do this. We want to start on the broadcast band. That's where I am. And we want the capacitor to be open. Okay, it is. Make sure this hasn't, nothing's drifted anywhere. Very good. I think we can start here. Okay, let's switch on the radio. Now, usually in instructions they say you got to leave a radio running for 15 minutes, and something like that. And I'm sure that's good advice, but that's probably not going to happen here. This meter here too takes a long time for the zero to stop drifting. See, it's drifted up already. It takes a long time for this meter to stabilize. Okay, so I hear a hummy buzz coming out of this. The hummy buzz quiets down as I turn up the volume. Okay, and this might be the radio's not plugged into a grounded outlet. I don't know for sure. So there's the tone coming. I've got the signal generator set to 455, and we're not seeing anything on here. How come? There we are. So check the zero on the meter there. There we go. Okay. It really doesn't matter actually, because we're just going to be paying attention to the movement of the pointer. The actual value doesn't really matter. Okay, I will get a adjusting tools here. I set this up very awkwardly for myself, I just realized, because I have to get at the capacitors here without stepping in front of the camera. Okay, we're going to have to change the deal. So what if I just pull way back here? Well, can you still see that meter? You can, kind of. Okay, with a long shot. I don't usually use long shots here. Starting with the second IF. Okay, and watching the meter now. This is no good. Let's try this. Bit of a bigger screwdriver here. Okay, watching the meter. You can pretty well hear where that's right in the middle. That's peaked. Now I did rough this in once already, so. Right on the peak. Okay, now the first transformer. I'm going to let you take a closer look at the meter here. Okay, here we go. Oops. Wait a sec. Here we go. Now we're ready. We got something out of this one. Okay, and the last adjustment. Here. Oh my gosh. Big change there. Okay, we're going to run through them again. I don't need the volume up so high. What about the signal level? Usually you want to do this with the lowest signal level you can get away with. Let's try that. Okay, doing all 4 of them again. No, it's not moving the meter, but I can hear it. Let's try about there. Okay, just a touch more out of that one. Number 3 here. Okay, and then the last, this is the one that really, a little more again. Okay, so that was a significant difference doing that. Now, the next thing is to start doing these things here. So let's look at the instructions. The instructions say, this is number 2, broadcast 1400. Use a small capacitor. This is going to do the job, I'm sure. So, but we want to set the dial to 1400. 1400. So that's right on there. Then we're going to want to set the signal generator to 1400 also. $1,400. Oh, did you? You didn't see that. Watch. We can't hear what's going on, but if you just watch this meter as I float by 14. So the radio's tuning 1425 right now, but we want it to tune 1400. So we'll put this down to 1400, and now we'll make the correct. Okay, oscillator trimmer, free end of broadcast oscillator coil under chassis. That's this. That's this guy. Right here. That's not going to work. Let's try the metal screwdriver. What I want to do is, I don't think it's having any influence like that. So I don't know which way to turn it. This way or that way. I could reason it out, but it's easier. Oh, camera's just heading on its own here, right? Let's put it back like this. Okay, so that's the guy I'm adjusting right there. We're at 1400. So I'm going to tune up to where you just barely hear it. In fact, you know what I can do here? I can put this back to 1400 and just turn up the output. There. We can hear it. Certainly know which way to go. So this is going to make the radio tune 1400 at 1400 on the dial. There we are. Okay, just turn that down. Next one is antenna trimmer item 25, top of rear coil on the chassis, gang rocked during adjustment. So we want to go to the antenna. See, now this is based on the kind of antenna I have connected here, but I don't really have an antenna connected here. I've got a signal generator with, capacitors. In this capacitor, there's one inside here too, and they give the radio a sense that it's hooked up to an antenna, but it's not the same thing. So I make this antenna adjustment. It's for this. It's not for the real antenna. That's what I'm thinking. I'll go ahead and do it anyway. So just once again, top of rear coil, gang rocked during adjustment. Gang rocked during adjustment. I'm going to step right in front of the camera again here. Maybe not. Maybe I can do it like this. So we're doing the back coil, and we want to rock the gang. My hand has to come up like this. Do this kind of thing. I haven't adjusted anything yet. Okay, so I'm going to put the screwdriver in the slot here. Okay, it's in. Probably it's stuck also. I'm going to tune this for maximum on that meter. So sensitive. There we are. Now I'm going to turn the capacitor. Uh-oh, it's doing nothing. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, something's going wrong. What am I doing wrong? 1400 oscillator trimmer. That's a B antenna trimmer, top of rear coil on chassis. Gang rocked during adjustment. Is it just so far out? Let me just keep turning it. That's tightened right down. Loosened right off. It didn't do a thing to this meter reading. What are we doing wrong here? It did move it just a wee bit there. I just tighten this right up. So now there is another capacitor hooked up here. Like a paper one I haven't done anything with. Is that part of the? Is that part of this problem here? That I can't reach any kind of resonance. Let's turn our attention to the schematic here. Maybe I got to change that capacitor to get things to work properly. Let's take a look here. Let me just put it up here on the screen right here. Let's turn this down so we don't have to listen to it. So what are we adjusting? So I think I'm adjusting. There was a number. They gave a number on it, so I don't have to think. Antenna trimmer, item 25. So we look for item 20. Here it is, item 25. Now this other capacitor, there's one here, and I think this is the other one. No, this isn't. This is the one that's right on the. Well, I don't. You know what? This could be the one. This could be one of them right here. So let's look and see here. Radio's still on. Don't forget, Jim. So the antenna comes in. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. I never reconnected the output, did I? I still have the output connected. Oh, what a dumb thing. I didn't move the output to the antenna. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. This is why we're not getting what we want here. Duh. Da. Okay. Thought I managed to make an adjustment. Well, I couldn't adjust this because this is ahead of where I was feeding the signal in. Okay. This time I'll be able to do it. Okay, that's enough. We figured out the problem. I was making a mistake. Now I am not. I'm on my way to a new mistake of some sort. So we're 1400 on the dial. Adjust this to maximize the meter. Oh my God, look at the meter. Well, that's because I hooked it up to the antenna and the signal level went way up in the radio. Caused the AVC to go up. Well, that's good. Let's knock it down. Okay, okay, it's moving a little bit when I touch the antenna, so okay, we're ready to go. I'm going to adjust the trimmer capacitor here. And we're going to try to make that meter go up and down. Here we go. Oops, came out. panned out. Here we go. Sometimes there's more than one peak on these things, so I am going to clamp it down. It just goes down, and I'm going to open it up. No other peak. No mention of another peak, so we're just going to pick it off here. There she is. La la. What do you say we switch this to the antenna just to have a different kind of input and see if that adjustment needs to be changed? So I'm going to disconnect from the signal generator. I'm going to stick it on the antenna. Now wait a minute. I got to tune something in for this to work on the antenna. And well, let's do it. Don't think too much about it. Okay, so we're hooked up to an antenna. Woof! Really noisy thing. The antenna lead is there. The ground is on for the antenna. Maybe that's why we're hearing the static tuning. Let's tune around here. Any station. And despite the noise, watch the ABC. The ABC is not so sensitive to the noise, but very sensitive to the signal. She's tuned in perfectly. And now I'm going to fiddle with that trimmer. I need to listen to it. See if it... Okay, screwdriver's in. Here we go. I can go see. Look at that. Now what that means is it changed the antenna, you change the tuning of this part. Darn noise. Let's try this now. I'm going to release the ground for the antenna. Try anyway. While maintaining the P- connection for the voltmeter here. Which I can't do. I'm very nervous playing around with ground wires. Okay, because I could get myself in between something and get a lift. I don't want to get a lift. Okay, so the antenna is connected now, but only just the hot wire lead, if you want to call it that. The ground is just hanging there. Okay. Now, we can remake the ground very easily. Let's do that. Barely hear the station. Hear it better. Now, is that because of the tuning thing? Or you can stick your finger in there, Joe. Is it the tuning thing? No. Put it back on. And then we'll correct everything again. So we want to, first of all, watching this meter, tuning the radio for maximum reception. Okay, turning the antenna adjustment. I didn't say something about rock the, it did, didn't it? Why did we do that next? Down, okay, antenna adjustment about max. Now, did it say rock? Did it say rock? Let's see what it says. It said antenna trimmer, top of the rear, gang rocked during adjustment. Okay, we're going to do that. Now, it's very vague, the instruction, rock it, that's a vague instruction. It's actually a much more nuanced procedure in my mind, in which you try different positions of the tuning pointer. So you move the tuning pointer a little bit, and then adjust the trimmer. Did it Did you get higher or no? And you go a little bit more, adjust again, higher, no. Then you just kind of work your way. You don't like rock the two of them together at the same time. This is a much more complicated procedure than I think they say. I'm going to try it. We're going to do it with the signal generator though. So let me go back to that because we can get a little bit of a more certain signal. I won't worry about the antenna tuning because okay, I'm going to set this to 14. Right on the money. Okay. Now we got to do the rocking thing. I'm probably going to find myself in front of the camera here. Let's see. So I kind of wanted you to see my hands operating on this, but okay, we're going in to the slot. Okay, so we'll try tuning downwards just a little bit first. Oh, this isn't enough to see. So such a hair trigger on this. You're so low. That's a little better. That's a 3-volt scale. The highest we can get right now is just below 4. Let's see if we can get higher. Okay, so tuning slightly and then looking. Tuning slightly and then looking. Back. It's probably as high as I can get it. So what's actually going on here is you're trying to line up 3 things by adjusting 2 of them. So one of them is fixed, and you're trying to bring the others into alignment with it. One of them is the trimmer, and the other is the tuner. And so what I'm doing is I'm moving this a little bit, and then checking, and moving this a little bit, and checking, and finding out that this is really the best place. That's not the best way to explain this, but so I think we did it. I think that's as hot as it's going to get here in terms of a receiver. And we can flip it back to the antenna. No, isn't there one more adjustment yet? At the low end, we got to do the low end. We got more to do. We got to go down to 600 and oscillator, and for a fixed end of the BC oscillator, recheck afterwards. So we'll go down to 600. Okay, 600 on here. Kind of see it there. 600 on here. So there's 600. But you can see it's really tuned up here, not right on. So we're going to move the oscillator. It's using this one. Maximize the meter. Darn noise. Seems like there's a new noise in town to me. Need a bigger screwdriver to start with here. See, bringing a big piece of metal up in the back of a radio like this can disturb it? Yes, it can. There we go. Now it's moving. Okay, I'm watching the meter over there. I pull the screwdriver away, we'll see if the meter shifts. No. Screwdriver not having an effect. Usually if you're doing capacitors, you can use a metal screwdriver without influencing things, but not always. But I find in my own work, the very stiff metal shaft is extremely helpful in trying to do this work. A flimsy, this is not flimsy, but a flimsy plastic one. No, in fact, something like this would drive you nuts, because as you try to turn the screw, you load tension into the plastic here in a twist, and then when the screw decides to move, it pops. Pop, 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 pop. That's how you can get out of that. That's why I like to use the metal screwdrivers as much as possible. Okay, what were we going to do? We were going to try this on the... We have to go back up to 14 and see if it's still at 14. And all that very fine adjustment we did of the antenna. It's probably okay. So that's 14 on the dial. What is it here? So we're going to go up to 14. Down to 14. So now it's 14, 14. But I'm going to put this at 1400, and then I'm going to tune the radio, and then I'm going to look and see, well, how far away is it really? So I'm looking at the dial. You know, it's nowhere. It's right on. It wasn't even a dial width. So we're good. We've done it. We've done it. Now we're going to play this radio and find out what happens. So we move from here back to the antenna, which is over here. Darn that interference. So that's a really good showing for, let's do this. Let's take off the equipment here. I need to leave the antenna ground connected to the B minus. What if we connect it to the chassis? Same thing. Just using that big capacitor I put in there. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, enough fooling around there. Let's give this guy a tune. Right down to the bottom. Listen to that noise. Oh my gosh. Station from Buffalo. This is the strongest station you can pick up.
It could be some of the media stuff and what's being said. So I think the media stuff kind of takes that fan expectation and brings it to the
Speaker,
coaches.
You want some breaking Blue Jays news?
Oh, let's do it.
Jose Cuas, who was claimed off of waivers by the Cubs, he was called up from AAA Buffalo and will be active for today's game. And to make room on the roster, Tim Meza has coming into the
workforce, it would be possible
Lovely.
for your employer to let you go.
640 rated 640, 680, beautiful.
650 news time is 10:51. Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. He's surrounded by
Weather.
lots of monitors, lots of...
I don't care about the traffic in Toronto. Although I was driving in it day before yesterday.
evaluation for security.
Well, I think this is fine. No question. No question about it. I think I'm going to call it quits here, and I'm going to spend some time trying to hunt down what the heck this noise is, which is just terrible right now. I don't know where it's come from. It's come from somewhere. Yeah, come from somewhere. Oh boy. Well, thanks a lot for watching. So we still have the shortwave to align and a few final things. Stick it back in the cabinet and be done with it. And we have the other radio yet. I can't remember if I aligned the other radio or not. Yeah, there's more to do. Okay, well, thanks a lot for watching to this point, and we'll see you tomorrow.